This is the most painful cartel deaths ever. So we're gonna switch gears a little bit here and cringe a little bit. I don't know, how does peanut butter involve in this? I don't want to know. But let's find out.
Butter. On a calm, breezy morning in Mexico City, the day's peace would be interrupted by the disturbed screams of a man tied to a pole. But you're probably wondering how he got here in the first place.
I am.
Earlier that month, he had been accused of committing an unthinkable
It's a crazy animation.
crime to a local woman in the city. Word of his actions spread quickly, angering friends, families, and other locals until a notorious Mexican gang caught wind of the story. For them, justice would not wait for courts and police. They tracked the man down, ripped him out from his house,
Oh,
and
so they're
dragged
doing this to an actual bad guy. That's nice, at least. On some Dexter nonsense.
him out into the open. They grabbed his hands and bound him tightly so that escape was impossible. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, the gang pulled out a tub of peanut butter and began to slather it on his...
Tell me they're not going to have dogs.
The man became confused, because while covering somebody in peanut butter is a pretty strange punishment, it's not necessarily painful. However, his confusion would quickly fall into dread when the men brought out two huge pit bulls. He immediately realized what they were trying to do and began pleading for mercy. However, his cries were drowned out by the growls of the snarling dogs. When the animals were unleashed, panic surged through the alleged criminals.
Feeling. I felt that one in my own balls.
As he screamed for help, the punishment unfolded brutally. It was a slow spectacle of pain and humiliation. And sadly, his screams fell on deaf ears as locals pretended like nothing was happening. By the time the dogs were pulled back,
Just average day in Mexico.
the man was left broken in a way that couldn't be fixed. The point was made clear. The gang had delivered their brand of justice and sent an unforgettable message that'll live on in the heart of Mexico City for years.
Too?
Vile acts against the vulnerable in this
Kill
city
me at that
will
point.
not be tolerated. 49.
The
On May
49
12th,
incident. How can you have an incident with a number?
2012, a man in Cadereyta, Jimenez decided to step out of his home for a quick beverage. The evening was warm and calm. It was the kind of night where nothing out of the ordinary was really expected.
Sure.
As the man walked along the highway, the dim lights cast long shadows across the road. Out of nowhere, the man would stumble across what sort of looked like a strange log just lying to the left of the pavement.
It's poop.
He barely paid it any mind, stepping past it. Moments later, he saw another one, then another, with each log carrying a foul, nauseating stench that clung to the air.
Okay.
The smell was strong enough to stop the man from walking any further. Confused, he decided to inspect the objects.
Poop.
He crouched closer, squinting at the twisted shapes in the dark. What at first looked like a bunch of discarded stick bundles on the highway slowly revealed themselves as something far more horrifying than expected. The man recoiled in terror. They weren't logs. They were human bodies. 49 bodies scattered across the road.
Damn.
They were men and women, stripped of their dignity. Each of them were missing their heads, hands, and feet. The mutilation was so precise and brutal that it was nearly impossible to tell who they once were.
Oh, wow.
Some of the people were stuffed into plastic bags, and others dumped carelessly onto the roadside. The man's breath quickened as his mind struggled to process the scale of what he was seeing.
Yeah, I'm going home. I'm calling the cops and going home if I see that.
A sense of dread swept over him as he realized he had stumbled upon a... In that moment, the silence of the night felt oppressive. The road transformed into a grotesque stage of terror. Later, authorities would confirm what many feared. This was the work of Los Zetas, one of Mexico's most violent cartels.
Yep, that's pretty
bad. The bodies
bad.
were left as a chilling message in an ongoing war.
What did I join to? Most painful cartel death. Isn't it a fun video topic?
For control of smuggling routes into the United States. By dawn, the site was swarmed with police and soldiers with their flashlights cutting through the dark as they documented the carnage.
Yeah.
Officials were able to arrest the perpetrator of the tragedy, Daniel Jesus.
It was only one dude?
Ramirez.
How do you do that by yourself? There's no way it was one guy.
More formally known as El Loco. This is just one of
Fair
many
enough. That's a
atrocities
fair
that happen
assessment.
in Mexico because of wars like these. And if there's one thing that's true about these conflicts, it's that the innocents will always be the ones who have to pay. May their souls rest in peace.
Yes. Rip.
The Ghost Rider incident. The CJNG is one of the most powerful and dangerous cartels in Mexican history. The United Cartels is a coalition that was formed in opposition to their control. And on a sweltering afternoon deep in cartel territory, a notorious man known as the Ghost Rider, in allegiance with the United Cartels, would find himself in the grip of one of Mexico's most feared criminal organizations.
Okay.
You see, Ghost Rider got his peculiar name from his horrific reputation. He was known for setting his victims ablaze and leaving them out in the open to be discovered.
Ow.
However, now that he was captured and surrounded by the CJNG, his fate became sealed long before cameras even started rolling. This cartel was not content with simply eliminating a rival. They wanted to carve a message into the eyes of each and every one of their enemies.
All right.
And in their eyes, Ghost Rider's nickname provided the perfect stage for humiliation. The camera steadied on him as members of the cartel mocked the moniker he had carried. And then with a calm and chilling demeanor, they doused his face in accelerant and struck a flame.
Accelerant? Oh,
What
like
followed was
gasoline?
a spectacle designed not just to eliminate, but to terrify.
That'll hurt.
The man's face ignited in an instant. Flames began dancing across his skin, consuming the man's head until it became unrecognizable.
Ow.
Bound and helpless, his muffled cries pierced the silence as the cartel stood by, watching.
How do you,
The man-
watch that and be like, haha, that's funny? Like, how desensitized do you have to be to not feel someone's pain when that happens?
And could no longer see.
I mean, I know I'm talking about the cartel, but still.
And his head now
just
resembled
person to
nothing
person.
but a skull.
Ugh.
But horrifically enough, he was still screaming. This terrible sight, paired
How?
with his nickname that once gave him power in the criminal underworld, had been twisted into a
It literally is funny. No, it's not, bro. If you saw that in real life, there's no way you find that funny.
cruel, barbaric
Have
joke.
some humanity,
The
gee.
man had literally become the Ghost Rider, just in a very wicked sense. The video of the savagery spread across the dark corners of the internet, where CJNG often showcased their brutality. And for those who stumbled upon the footage, the sight was unforgettable. A man was transformed into a symbol of suffering and humiliation.
That's awful.
And that symbol would unfortunately outlast his legacy. The ball incident. Panic surged
I've had a ball incident before. It's not fun.
through the city as word spread of the grisly discovery made inside of the bag. In Los Mochis, police chased down
See ya, Kenya. Have a good day.
reports of red-stained sacks dumped all over the town. Each one revealed another part of a human body, like some sort of sick, twisted treasure hunt. Inside one bag was a torso, in another bag were severed limbs. But the true horror that shocked the city came from a janitor cleaning the front of a city hall.
Okay.
While doing his job, he stumbled across a sports bag, but when he went to pick it up, a soccer ball bounced out of it. As it rolled over,
There's
the
a
ball
head
revealed
inside
that
it?
it was stitched with human skin. A man's face was pulled tight over the leather with its lips sewn shut. And a note beside it read,
Gosh.
"Happy New Year, because this will be your last."
Oh,
In early January 2010,
Mexico. I mean, I'm sure some shit like this has happened in the old United States, but goddamn Mexico.
a 36-year-old man named Hugo Hernandez had mistakenly crossed into Sinaloa cartel territory while they were in the midst of one of the bloodiest cartel wars in history against the Juarez.
Bad
They
time to
immediately
be there.
abducted the man, tied him to a
This is
chair,
why they say don't leave the resort when you go on vacation.
brought out a chainsaw, and well, the rest was history. This is just one of the hundreds of thousands of civilian casualties in this non-stop war.
Oh,
The violence is so bad that reporters and journalists stopped reporting on it because they too were brutally
yeah. Damn. Wasn't like, I don't know if it's like this now, but I remember seeing something about like Pablo Escobar. Like there were parts of history where in Mexico, like the cartel had power over the police and stuff. It was wild.
The cameras begin
Okay, we've reached viewer beware level, so
rolling, and then the
beware.
footage adjusts. The scene is set on a man bound with his hands and legs tied by extension cords. As the camera focuses more, it becomes clear that the man is most certainly not alive. His face is missing, and so are his hands and eyes. However, in sheer impossibility, the man begins moving violently.
No way.
The camera slightly pans over to the side, and there it
Oh.
becomes apparent that these cartel members
They're electrocuting his body, so he's like moving, but he's not actually alive.
hook the man up to a substance to pump his adrenaline and keep him wide awake and aware. Because of this, it is impossible for the man to pass out. And that's when it starts. The cartel members pull out a knife and stick a metal pole in the man's mouth in an effort to silence him. What happens next is simply just too horrific to mention on YouTube, so out of respect for this man's life and to protect your mental
I
security,
mean, we've seen
I'll
some
skip over
bad
it.
stuff already, so I don't know how it can get any worse.
All you need to know is that they began playing a game with the man's throat while pumping him with substances to keep him alive. The best
Oh, were they putting their penises in there?
thing I can compare this to is if you were to undergo surgery and one of the operating doctors forgot to give you anesthesia, which, by the way, is just a medical treatment that typically makes you unconscious and unaware during painful surgeries. Normally, in a case like this, you'd shoot up in extreme pain, but since you're restrained, the agony would just cause you to pass out on the operating table. Now imagine if the doctors were also injecting you with some type of liquid that prevented you from passing out and kept you wide awake, to watch what they were doing to your body in complete horror. That's pretty much what happened, and after the men were done, the video would finally end. But shortly afterward, another
Damn,
video
that shit was, like, on camera. That's the type of shit when you're, like, 12 years old and you finally get internet access and you go down the rabbit hole of, like, those awful gore videos. Like, that's the shit you would see. I'm glad I never saw
in the
that.
same room would surface. In it, you can see the same men playing soccer with the
Oh!
victim's head, kicking it back
Oh
and
my
forth to each
gosh!
other in efforts to catch it. What makes this incident as horrific as it is isn't the sheer brutality of their
It
actions.
is.
When the men were carrying out this atrocity, it's heavily noted that they would be talking to each other, calm and casually, as if it were another Tuesday morning at their shift. All the meanwhile, a popular 80s hit would play in the background, striking a mind-boggling contrast between their gruesome acts and the fun and
Yeah, that's the shit you only see in fucking TV shows. I don't Oh, okay. Well, that was hard for me to watch. That was a hard watch.